Take a look at the lineup on the enemy team. We've got a division of very good players. You could almost say it's a super unicum division. Tactic Angel in the Conqueror, Mark aka White in the Alaska B, Bravo Foxtrot in the Daring, and then Monk in the Stalingrad, who's not part of the division but just happens to be in the match on the enemy team. These are four very, very good players versus me in the Gdansk. And normally I wouldn't put up videos on the same ship 2 days in a row, but I did want to show you this video primarily because to this day, I still hear complaints throughout the World of Warships Legends community that divisions are impossible to deal with as a solo player. You just can't get anything done if you are playing solo and you're facing a competent enemy division, because of course they have advantages over you, such as the ability to communicate with each other. Obviously, we don't have team chat on in this game. We're not directly communicating with anybody on the blue team. But the division of Tactic Angel, Mark aka White, and Bravo Foxtrot are almost certainly communicating with each other. So, how do we stand up to them? Impossible, right? Well, no. This game occurred on my most recent stream, and to be totally fair and transparent, there are probably people on the blue team that were watching the stream chat. So we're not directly communicating with each other, but they're aware that I'm in the game, and they're probably doing what they can to assist me. On the other side of the map, we've got Tube Light, a member of the channel who's been a viewer for a long time. I think he's in the destroyer near the Alpha Cap, and as you can see, he's hanging around outside of it for now. Unfortunately, that side of the map is going to end up folding at some point, but this side, where I'm on now, this is where a good deal of the action is going to occur, but it's going to take a while to get started. Why? Well, there's a Schroeder there, and he's inside of a smoke screen. We've also got a GK pushing in, and there is Mark in the Alaska. That is my biggest worry here, because of course the Alaska is a radar cruiser, and if we get radared by Mark in front of his Alaska, that's not a GK, that's an FDG. In front of that FDG, the Schroeder, whatever else laid that smoke screen, we're going to lose HP very, very quickly. Cap is turning red. We have a 9-kilometer radar. There's Bravo Foxtrot in the Daring. We reveal him, but we elect to not shoot yet. It would present the same problem if we shot. We'd have 5 enemy ships shooting back at us, including a Worcester. That is not a recipe for success. So the most we can do right now is we can spot these guys for the teammates that pushed out to this flank. As you can see, they're working on taking them down, shooting at different targets. I do wish they were focusing their fire maybe a little bit more, but the most we can do at the moment is spot. If we go inside of that cap and start trying to flip it, we're well within range of the Alaska. I would assume that is the only reason the Alaska hasn't radared me yet, is because we haven't been in the cap long term. We did sneak into it momentarily in the beginning and start flipping it blue, which I thought would prompt the radar deployment, but did not. And I don't want to be taking any chances now. We do have torpedoes, of course. I think they've got about a 10-kilometer range. We've already hit 2 against a target in the smoke screen, probably the Schroeder, who's on fairly low health. So we can continue sending them into this corner. And I think the reason that the enemy team doesn't want to push in is because they're aware of my presence here, and they are aware of the torpedo threat. I can't really chalk it up to any other explanation aside from the fact that there are, in fact, 3 ships behind me, so maybe they're hesitant to push in for that reason too. We land a torpedo on the Alaska. Schroeder is almost on no HP. I don't think the torpedoes have quite enough time to reach him, and we could almost certainly take him out with a single salvo from our main battery guns, but we don't need to. The Alaska B behind me seals that honor. And that guy is actually going to come in clutch pretty quickly here. He is, of course, a random player. He might have been watching the stream as I played, but I don't know that for sure. I think we were just sort of on a similar wavelength. Finally, we get radared. I don't know if that was the Worcester or the Alaska, but the Worcester goes down for our first kill of the game. He was on no HP. We took the opportunity to sink him. Probably somebody else would have done it in the next several seconds, but Worcester is a dangerous ship that we don't want to leave alive. We continue to fire, get a fire on the FDG. We are spotted though, so we need to continue around that island. We go dark. Bravo Foxtrot's over there in the Daring. He's smoked up. That is going to be our next target. The Worcester is down. The Schroeder is down. Alaska and FDG are still there, but that's 2 ships less than what it used to be just moments ago. So at this point, we feel a little bit safer in pushing in. That's one thing to keep in mind when you're playing destroyers. Reason, again, I did not go into that cap is because if I get radared and then I get shot at by all 5 of those enemy ships, I'm gonna sink. Same reason I can push into the Daring now. If the Daring spots me, he's got an FDG and an Alaska that can shoot at me, which is a problem, no doubt, but it's not as big of a problem as a Worcester, a Schroeder, an FDG, and an Alaska all being able to shoot at me. It's a little bit more evenly matched now. Plus, we've got this Alaska B right here. He's parked up in front of the Daring. Daring has smoked up once more and is shooting. We're, of course, going down the sights to see how far away is that smoke screen. Once it's within 9 kilometers, we know that we can pick up the Daring with the radar. And he's actually out of the smoke screen. There he is. We're going to use the OP gimmick on Swirsky to deploy a smoke screen of our own and extend the radar duration. But this should be long enough that Bravo Foxtrot is revealed and we're able to take him out. Or if not us, the Alaska. He's on low HP. He's well within this radar range. He's within the Alaska's radar range too, by the way. And he's trying desperately to get away, but it's too late. The Alaska takes him out, which is fine, and of course we get the coveted fisting ribbon. That clears up this cap. Torpedoes coming in, but of course we're aiming in the right direction and we're able to sneak through the gap there. So is Alaska, by the way. Good job to him. That leaves Alaska B here and the FDG hanging around this cap. But since it's Alaska and FDG versus 3 ships on my team plus me, feel a little bit more confident in getting into this cap. If the Alaska radars me now, there's not enough people to present an imminent threat of my sinking, let's just say. The FDG certainly can shoot, the Alaska can too, but it's not like the Alaska is a Worcester with a bunch of DPM that can quickly and efficiently take down a destroyer. And in any case, the FDG goes down, leaving only the Alaska. He's going to be forced to retreat. Now, you'll notice on the other side of the map that the enemy team took the Alpha cap. It'll also be clear to you that Bravo Foxtrot took this cap. And the enemy team held 3 caps for the majority of this game, actually. There's only about just over 6 minutes left to go in the match. This should just go to show you that in the beginning of the match, if you are playing a destroyer, yes, caps are certainly your primary objective. You can see we're taking this one now. Better late than never, and better floating than sunk. Our teammate on the other side of the map went down. If I had pushed into this cap immediately, good chance I wouldn't be showing you this game on YouTube, and we would have had to have moved on the stream to the next match. It's okay to play around a cap without actually taking it, even for a long time into the game. It's better to succeed in taking the cap and survive than it is to attempt to take the cap, fail, and sink. And so, we're taking the cap a little bit later, but we've secured it. Now we have 2 caps to the enemy's 2, and we're behind on points. That can change, though, if we start sinking ships. The Alaska B is retreating. There's nothing around to spot us, so we're able to lob a couple shells over the island. Maybe we can even light a fire with the Gdansk's great fire chance. I don't know. Yep, there's a fire. And, of course, the improved HE pen is actually going to do damage to the Alaska. But we're going to lead our remaining teammates on this side toward the Charlie cap. The Alaska's pushing into the center. He's got 1 ship in the Bravo cap on our team that is coming toward him. And still, this is anybody's match. the teammates on this side of the divide, the blue side, are not exactly the healthiest in the world at this point. I'm sure with the concentrated firepower of the Alaska, the Conqueror, and the Stalingrad that are all still floating, they could take these guys out. And of course, Stalingrad, driven by Monk, who we haven't seen yet, is a major threat to me with his 12-kilometer radar. So is Alaska, and by the way, Mark at this point must know that I'm the one spotting him. I don't think there's anybody else that could possibly have line of sight, so there's the radar. But maybe a little bit too late on the activation there. We're about to reach the island, and we can safely tuck ourselves behind this rock to prevent the Alaska from shooting at us. We did see some enemy ships over in that direction that were maybe headed back this way, Stalingrad potentially among them. So we're keeping the island between ourselves and that part of the map as well, just in case. Although it seems the Stalingrad is on the other side of the island chain over there, so he couldn't shoot at us anyway. I don't know where the battleship is, but he doesn't appear to be there either. So the radar is gone. We'll be able to go around the island now as the Alaska pushes through the gap there. But it does look like he's got a friendly cruiser hanging out in the Bravo cap that may potentially have his broadside if he continues further forward. He's also got a cruiser directly in front of him. The battleship on my team doesn't look like he's actually got shots on the Alaska, but basically the Alaska is surrounded at this point, and he's probably going to end up going down. I think on a higher level overview of what we're seeing in this match, we've seen the red team take the caps early on, but it appears they've done so too aggressively. That can happen sometimes if you aggressively push into the caps. The other team just sort of hangs around the caps and then finishes you off as you push into them. That appears to be what happened here, something you want to avoid. There's a delicate balance, I suppose, that has to be struck. Anyway, Tactic Angel's come around the corner in his Conqueror. Very dangerous opponent if we get spotted, especially by Monk's radar. The Alaska has gone down, so it's only Tactic Angel and Monk who was last seen around that island chain. We predicted Tactic was going to make a little bit of a turn to the right of the screen. We were correct in that prediction, and we land 2 torpedoes on his Conqueror, which goes a long way toward taking him out. The HE is, of course, penetrating the armor of the Conqueror pretty much everywhere. And we've got an Alaska driving straight at Tactic Angel. That's maybe not great for the Alaska, and Tactic is obviously healing. But the Alaska is able to take a lot of HP off the superstructure. Our HE is coming in there to help out. But eventually, we decide we are going to have to retreat just in case. Tactic does go down, but Monk is still left alive. He's still a radar threat. He does, however, have his broadside mostly pointed at the Alaska. Now, to be fair, the Alaska probably should have died to him there because he was also broadside, but I guess RNGesus just blessed that Alaska, and he actually ends up taking out Monk. He could have sunk himself. Don't really know how he didn't. I suppose the Stalingrad Citadel is perhaps more easily accessible than the Alaskas, so we could chalk it up to that. But we finished the game solo with nearly 3,000 XP and a victory over a very powerful division and Monk, who just also happened to be there and is a good player. So don't tell me that you cannot do anything as a solo player against divisions. You can, obviously. Now, the Gdansk, very powerful ship with an OP radar gimmick, to be sure. However, I think in that same situation, we could have still had success. Just imagine the Alaska had radared the Daring instead of us if we were playing some other DD. So, don't tell me that you can't stand up to divisions. You can. They do have an advantage over you. They will win a lot of the time, but not all the time. There are things you could do. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.